listen to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions he asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records of cash. We laughing, we drafting the passion through various. Time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Conscious is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magicless, passing it. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers, what? All the answers.
Are we recording?
Unfortunately, yes, but I'm gonna dump my computer in the landfill
in
now.
an acid bath.
Totally.
Okay, you know what? Why that is the sentence that came out of my mouth?
I really want to know.
I'll tell you why. Here's why that insane profanity that wasn't recorded, thankfully, is what came out of my mouth today, is because I'm currently watching the Jeffrey Epstein documentary on Netflix. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
No, I don't want
Desmond
to.
has seen it. Okay, Cassidy is not going to see it. Oh my God. Okay, I want your guys' opinions on something here. What is our collective theory about women and true crime? Because you know how there's like that thing where the percentages, we really need a fact checker, but there's percentages that exist that women love true crime. Like, I don't know, like 85% of listeners of true crime are women. I really want to understand what that is. Like, why? You would think we'd be afraid of it because we're the victims in it all the time. What do you guys think that is?
Well, I blow your theory out the water. You should look at my Hulu watched list. And this is not historically accurate for me, but as of recently, like my true crime watching, I finally realized what it is that I was looking for something interesting to watch that I would be okay missing some of. So like if I have true crime on, when I'm paying attention, it's fascinating. And if I go to the bathroom and miss something, I'm fine.
See, I'm the other way. I'm like, oh, you Googled it. Yay. I can't miss a millisecond of it. Like right now I'm watching Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix, which
just came on, yeah.
Oh, I've seen them all already. And I'm watching the Jeffrey Epstein. So I flip back and forth between murderous and rapey because why? And I know that, I mean, there are theories that are like, it's about like a subtle way to feel like maybe you're in more control of reality if you're like learning about, I have no idea. Cassidy, what do you have? You have numbers?
Well, all I can tell you is that a 2010 study, this is a long time ago, found that around 70% of Amazon reviews of true crime women are by women, compared with books about war, where 82% of the reviews are by men. So that's true.
That makes sense.
There's a whole article on the New York Times from 2019, from almost exactly a year ago. Why do women love true crime? So we should read this article. I'll send it to you.
Okay, brilliant.
And we can return to this conversation.
This is brilliant. I love the brilliance of this. I don't know a single woman. I'm sure they exist. I don't know any of them reading about the wars.
Right.
None of them. But I know I could name right now 4 or 5 gentlemen friends of mine fully up on the reading about the wars.
Yeah.
And every female I know is watching true crime. But then you've got the Desmonds and our buddy Carlos Aguirre, who helped write who wrote the lyrics of our theme song. He's all up on the true crime. That guy's into true crime. I don't know. This is a lovely way to say hi. I missed you guys so much. We're back.
It has been weeks, you guys.
It's been so liggity long. It feels like many lifetimes. And we could do, I feel like 3 or 4 episodes, just me catching you up on the crazy woo-woo, both woo-woo and human shit that has occurred in my reality. I'm sure y'all have 90 stories each.
Probably fewer, because I didn't go to Crystal Capital of the World.
Yep. Sedona, and then Cortez, Dolores, and Mancos, Colorado, and then drove back. And it's quite a story. I'm not even sure I can even actually talk about it yet on a recorded thing, because there was some shit that went down.
Okay. You got to have a story at least, maybe not a reveal of the things that are needing to be kept.
Oh, yeah. I got
only among the heightened and
100%
enlightened.
Yeah, I could tell you. I'll tell you the story parts that can be told. What kind of woo-woo shit did you get up to when I was out of town?
Just therapy. Not a lot of woo-woo shit. The transcendent stuff is pretty low-key. Just been rehearsing for this play, this online production of King Lear that we're going to be doing. Super high-tech, very challenging. I am excited about it. It's going to work, but it's a struggle right now to feel connected. Like, this is the thing that, as actors, we're like, oh, I really like performing. Yes, and boy, like not having a human being to exchange ions with.
So, okay, to clarify for people who maybe aren't actors, you're in a play right now, but we're in the middle of coronavirus still. And so human beings can't get in the same room together. So you're acting together on Zoom.
Yeah, they just released a statistic that 99% of theater professionals are unemployed right now. 99. So for the first time in my life, I'm a 1%er.
Yeah, me too.
And I am employed as a theater artist, as an actor right now. We're rehearsing. Everybody is remote. We all have a green screen studio in our home, every member of the cast. And we are rehearsing and acting as though, like, so if I'm looking slightly off stage left and up to down over there, that's where King Lear is for this scene. And I'm talking to them there. Yeah, is that the right eye line? Awesome. Now I'm going to act. And then I exit stage left, and then I have to crawl under the camera to get over to stage right because I don't want to walk across the camera because they can,
It's like film acting, but way worse.
Yeah. And it's different. It's different. Yeah, because you don't cut ever.
Exactly.
I mean, we do have times when we're not, quote, on camera. We're not mixed into the feed. So we can like be in front of our camera and it won't be mixed into the feed. So we're not always live. It's very crazy and high tech.
It sounds like a nightmare walking. I would hate every millisecond of that. But how did you know? I want to know. I won't mention the person's name.
Yeah.
But before we were recording, I said, the people I'm talking to are like, want to kill themselves. And you were like, well, that's because you're probably talking to fill in the blank person.
Oh, because this is a friend of mine and we've been sharing our frustrations.
Yeah, but how can you assume everyone else on the job
also because I know this same person is a friend of yours.
Okay, so you took
I triangulated.
You took an educated guess.
Who of our cast is also good friends with Katie that will need to vent because we're all like having a great time and having a hellish time. It's both. Like, so we're gonna vent. Like, my housemates also only hear the like, this thing, I'm so frustrated with this person or this technical problem or this issue.
This person told me the only pleasant thing at all about the entire experience is their costume.
Yeah, they look good. Yeah. People are going to hear this and deduce who it is, but it's fine. Nobody listens. I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's fucked up.
Wow.
And not true.
Not true.
Not true at all.
Anyway, so yeah, we're doing this play. It's going to be running forever. People can go check it out. It'll be through San Francisco Shakespeare Festival. It's not a bunch of grids. It's not a bunch of people in little tiny squares like a Zoom call. It's actually people acting on a full screen. So that's cool.
It's neat. I mean, and for all our complaining about it, the complaining is all the backstage behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
It has nothing to do with what you guys would see if you watch it. You'd see an excellent production where people bust their asses to make it act.
Yeah, that's the thing is we're doing something that's never been done before. So it is a struggle because we, as our awesome director said in an interview, we are flying the ship as we build it. Like we're literally building the ship underneath our feet as it is in the air. Oh, put the propeller on.
Wow. That's good. That's a good metaphor.
Yeah.
That's like improv, right?
Yeah, it's totally like improv, only has to be more tightly regimented than any play you've ever done, ultimately.
Fun times. Yeah. Suicide and
death. Yeah.
So.
We have an opening in the I'm just kidding, Katie. We don't.
No, I would see this hand sanitizer in my hand. I will drink this entire thing before saying yes to that job. Full thing. I'll drink like 9 of these. You'd have to pretty much tie me to a radiator to make me do that. But apparently, I'm quite willing to get in a car and drive for 2 days to Sedona to sit in a room with a woman. This is so on the I can't wait to tell you guys about it, but also I'm a little nervous because it's like imagine who you'd have to be someone I go to see because they're more something. Like, how do you be more woo than me? How? Further into the woo? Is there a further in? Yep. Well, you're nodding, but what I would argue is that there are people more irritatingly into the woo.
But you're not going to see them.
I'm not going to see those fuckers. I'm going to see only like legit high level healer people. But in order to be that, it's going to be, I shouldn't say that, but chances are good. It's going to be weird, to say the least. So that was true. What happened? Is that a cat?
It's a housemate.
Oh, they're in your room?
And they were coming from the shower. So I decided to close the door
Ooh.
so that you all didn't get the opportunity.
To see the nakedness of Rami? I think everyone should have that option.
Anyway, I'm now closed into my closet.
Well, it was only the most important sentence I'm going to say tonight. So that's okay. That's no big deal.
I actually stopped listening about 15 seconds ago. So I need you to start rewind.
All I was saying is that it's as if the 25 years of work I've been doing completed themselves.
Wow.
Like complete on that 4 days. Like the last nuggets of what I mean by this is that like I've had this awareness since I started doing healing work of darkness I was carrying and trauma and ways that I was separated from source and separated from myself and ways that I wasn't quite able to be fully who I am yet or fully in integrity or just a lot of different stuff. But I have this weird thing about me where I'm aware of all of it as it's ready to come up and go out.
Oh, I understand that. Absolutely. That feeling of being aware of things doesn't mean they're going anywhere or that they're gone, but you can look at them at least and you know where they are. And then sometimes you can see them go. Well,
my thing is I'm aware of them and I can always see them go and I know what's going to go next and I know what I have to do to get it to go. Like that's what I'm saying is weird, is that I've been actively piece by piece by piece pulling the next thing out and then the next thing out and then the next thing through. Well, I should say the light has been pulling it out, but I'm the one who sits on the couch and goes, okay, today we're working on this thing, right? And they'd be like, yup. Or sometimes they'd be like, no, we're going to work on this other thing. And I'd be like, okay. And then I would watch that very specific thing get like surgically removed by the light. I felt like I have this acting career and I have these teaching jobs and I date people. But really what I'm doing is 2 or 3 hours a day, this. Like that's what I've been doing. My whole adult life is healing this stuff. And I'm telling you, it's done.
Oh, so now what?
Exactly. I mean, for real. And don't mishear me. There's no part of me saying I am now perfected or I'm some levitating perfect being. I'm saying there's nothing I have to heal in myself that's in the way of me living my dharma or living as myself in service to the light.
That's awesome.
How does that land for you? Because you seem...
No, I was being a little flip. I don't feel doubtful at all. I don't know what the end of your sentence was. What do I seem?
I wasn't going to put a word. I was going to let you do it.
Yeah, I was acting a little like, oh, really, earlier, but I actually think that, I mean, what a gift to feel that. And also kind of scary, I think, to me. Like, that sounds both beautiful and like, okay, well, shit. When you take away the struggle, sometimes that's all we got. And then you're like... Okay,
now that's it. Because so there was a teacher I worked with for a while in a system that I will never have anything to do with again, because they're not great, but they taught some really great things, like in any kind of anything, there's great things. And then there's sometimes not great things. One of the great things I got from one of these places I've been is they said that oftentimes one of the biggest reasons people don't finish their healing is because of that, because they feel like, who will I be if I don't have stuff to work on? And I think I'll be honest, I think I thought I was exempt from that, because I think I thought, no, you don't understand. I am in so much pain all the time. All I want is to not have that. So if I had peace, I would just be a walking gratitude machine. Not so much. I was wrong. Again. Everything about me on the human level is frequently wrong, which is why I do all this fucking shit. My point is that you're right. I feel very much like, and I'm asking a lot of questions every day, like, okay, do I keep teaching the healing stuff? Yes. Do I keep teaching the writing class? For now. Do I keep doing the podcast? Yes. I'm just asking and following, but I'll tell you, I have no internal reference point for who this person is. If you identify your sense of self in part with either your past at all, your family, or your problems, and your me, none of that is present anymore. So there is no me, if that's how I was going to identify.
Yeah.
I don't happen to identify with that stuff anyway, but it's weird to not have it in my body. Even if I'm not identifying with it, it's always been there. It's like if you wore like a water, what's it called? A floaty, like a float, like a round inner tube around your waist every day of your life from birth. You do some healing work, you do some consciousness work, you realize I'm not the floaty that is around my waist. I am the light that is carrying a floaty. But there's still a fucking floaty there. And then one day, there's not anymore. You're like, well, I knew I wasn't the floaty, but it not being here is kind of a big deal. I don't have much more than that to say about it, because right now I'm just like, all right, next assignment. Please make it clear, because I don't know.
Be careful when you go into a pool next. No, I'm minimizing. You're telling me deep shit. Something just came to mind when you were saying it. Was a conversation I was having with my parents the other day. And my dad once had an English teacher tell him they broke down the word perfect. You said something about being perfect and being finished and not being, you're not saying now I'm perfect. And there's nothing,
No.
But that the word perfect sort of in its root means, I think it's like played through, meaning finished. It means complete. And which is why nobody is ever perfect, because that's ridiculous. You're never all the way done. Nobody is ever all the way done. You're not even done. You are now free to pursue your dharma.
Well, check this out. Okay, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, 100%. I mean, if I ever, by the way, both of you human beings right here, if I ever say to you that I think I'm perfect now, because knowing me, I would say it out loud. Please just get a man to come to my house with a white jacket and strips and let him put it through the metal loop twice, pull tight, take me away. Because that's when you're really in trouble, is when that's what you fucking think. But get this. So to your point, and kind of bringing it back to this trip, I'm going to say for now, some weird human drama occurred after the whole thing ended that resulted in my having a conversation with my current boyfriend, our lovely friend, Hooray.
Oh, he's being named on the air.
Hooray, ladies and gentlemen.
I love the man. He's a great guy.
I touch his penis on the regular. So, what? What are we pointing at? What happened, Desmond? Touch penis. That's the symbol.
You're
for
making it seem like Katie has a penis, like you're touching two penises together. And I don't know that that's not true, because I've not seen Katie's genital package.
I did have for the listener, we're referencing that Desmond, our brilliant sound engineer, was making a pointing gesture to his other finger, and it looked like E.T. penises, like E.T. phone home to another penis.
I just loved the idea of just like touching a penis, like a foreign object, just like,
what is it gonna do? Poke. You know what? If that's what you guys get it down with, that is cool. No judgment-free zone.
Or what if it's like this? Like you put your full palm on it and you just touch it.
Rest your hand on it.
That's more of a caress.
Yeah.
Just touch.
No, but you don't drag it. You just touch it.
Okay, where were we?
Okay.
That's the Mac. I got a little bit of, I got the vapors now.
We're discussing the male genitalia. Oh my. He said this brilliant thing that is so obvious. You know, when you sort of know a thing, but you haven't put words around it, and then someone else puts words around it, and you're like, that thing. But it seems so obvious now that they put words around it, but you're like, but I didn't put words around it. Anyway, he said in Buddhism, he was talking about how they talk about that. I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to misquote him now. But it was something like this, that in Buddhism, they teach that there's the spiritual ascension line of energy in your being. And then the sort of spiritual alignment, or the walking, or the spiritual whatever, that can get real high vibe. But over here, parallel to that line, is your moral development, your ethical development, your relational development. And they are not in the same location in your body and your soul and your spirit. Meaning that's how we get so many spiritually abusive leaders. Why? That's what happened for Osho, right? You know, the Wild Country documentary?
Oh, right. Yes. I didn't remember the name, but yes.
So for folks who need a really awesome piece of entertainment that is upsetting and amazing all at once, he's an example of someone who might fall into this category. It's my opinion that he did. I can't say that for sure. That's just my opinion. But when a spiritual person becomes super elevated in the spiritual realms, but they're not working on their integrity or their ethics or their morality, they start to think they are God and they can do whatever they want because in a certain way, they've ascended to a realm where they kind of just are emanating the light of God. But because we are inherently in these human bodies, there is no escaping the need for healthy relational dynamics, ethics, and morality. You can't actually function well with other humans in this realm without that other line. But it was really helpful for me when Eric distinguished them as two different lines, because I was like, that's why I left the healing school I went to. That's why I left the second healing school I went to, is because once people got to a certain level of spiritual enlightenment, you could say, at all three of those places I'm referencing now, they hadn't kept up their ethical, just normal, like, are you an 8 on the Enneagram level of work?
Interesting. So that it doesn't necessarily taint their wisdom or what they're delivering when they're in the spiritual mode, but it taints the framework that they're operating in the human realm.
I guess I would say it like, yeah, you can teach a lot of high level spiritual concepts and even like ways.
And still be a dick.
100%. But I was also going to say, you can teach even ways to be living as a spiritually aligned person, which by the way is a very huge topic. There's a lot to that. And still be bad at people and compassion and not being a dick, not arrogance, all of that stuff. It's easy as pie to go to like, well, I'm emanating so much light that I get to decide, you know, God told me to fuck my minions, or God told me to buy Rolls Royces and shoot heroin. That's what happened with Osho. He became a drug addict while he was like super spiritually ascended and was obsessed with wealth, and people would bring him like huge piles of gold and Rolls Royces, and it just got real weird at the end there. So that was a very good thing to see again, that like, I don't know. I think for me, I've just had so many people be shitty at me in the form of trauma inducing stuff that I have no interest in pretending to be anything more than, I just think any pretense is fucked. So I don't, and it's also so transparent to me when people look how special I am because of how elevated I am. It's like, I think you might be missing the point of elevation, which is to contribute and serve.
In a weird way, it's like not being aware of your fucking privilege. It's like not wielding your.
That's right.
Like that is its own mode of privilege, is being, having access to this great, beautiful spiritual road. But if you're then just swinging your dick around or like knocking people over or whatever, not caring about other humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're not wielding your privilege with integrity.
Or wielding your gifts with humility.
Yeah, humility and humanity.
And humanity, yeah.
Yeah.
And listen, I am far from thinking I'm even great at doing anything with humility or humanity. What I know that I'm decent at is checking myself. And what I watch a lot of people not be willing to do once they hit certain levels of spiritual whatever is check themselves, because suddenly in their minds, they're just not human anymore.
Right. They're exempt.
No need to check. Yeah. And that shit is dangerous.
Very.
And I like that you brought us back to the privilege conversation, because that is what we're dealing with right in our country right now is.
Yeah. And like to be able to use what you have with beauty and joy and deliver and share the gift and deliver it to other people, but also not do additional damage on the sort of more three-dimensional realm while you're doing it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. I remember, I'll give another example of this to make this more concrete for people. When I went to the first healing school I went to, which by the way, fully changed my life, set me on a spiritual path that's way deeper than I planned to be on, for sure, and healed me of some shit that I don't know, I never would have healed without them. Like they were a huge part of my life and transformation. I'm grateful forever. And There was a day where, I had come from the 12-step recovery system before I went to healing school. And in 12 steps, we have, the fourth step is where you really look very closely at your own sort of moral stuff and ethical stuff and emotional stuff and integrity stuff and lying stuff and what's it called? Power dynamic stuff, all kinds of shit. There was a day that, like, I'll put it like this. The way the human beings in the school I went to were treating the other human beings at the school, including each other, like the faculty to the student dynamic, was so fucked up that I went to one woman who's a big part of the leadership. And I said, there's this thing called a fourth step. I was like a sick, traumatized, eating disordered, recently sober alcoholic. I was like a mess. I was like the last lady you want to listen to in a room. Okay. And I went to the spiritual teacher, head of the room, and I said, here's this sheet that they showed me in 12-step. It teaches people how to function well with each other. I kind of think we might need it here at this school. Here you go. And I handed it to her. A few days later, she was like, kind of brushed it off. She was like, oh, all right, sure. Like there's anything I've never looked at, kind of that attitude. A few days later, that sheet that I handed her had been Xeroxed and was given out in a lecture that teacher gave. She said, I've come across some important material and we're going to rebuild the structure of the school around these new awarenesses. This is very important, and gave it to all the students in the class. There were like 30 people in my class, and it was the fucking fourth step that I had given her. She did not acknowledge me. She did not acknowledge that someone else, any other human, had given it to her. She presented it like, this is part of our curriculum. It's new this year. We're integrating this new thing. I came across it. I, the teacher.
God, I hate people sometimes.
I mean, I was so injured at the time that I was too afraid I didn't say anything to her about it. I felt real fucking pissed, but I didn't know how to be okay with being pissed. Everything in me was like, I had been taught like anger is wrong and you don't get to have a voice, and how you would never, you don't challenge the teacher. She's the spiritual one.
Right.
She knows the spiritual. She must have a reason. No, when people are dicks, they're just dicks. It doesn't matter how fucking spiritual they are if they're being a dick. And it's a different kind of dick than the kind you want to touch. Cassidy just did the 2 fingers touching tips gesture, like E.T. penises. I think that's the title of this episode, E.T. penises. Do you know what I'm saying, though?
About E.T. penis? No,
oh, God.
No, about the lady. No, that's why I interrupted you to say, I really hate people sometimes. Like that kind of thing is so, you're also naming why there's significant distrust, dislike, all the things around religion and or spirituality. Anything structural in which there's power involved or exchange of power in some way, as soon as we hear so many stories about, definitely in the major religions for sure, like insane bad power games and genocides, and like, I don't even want to get into that. Like, but even on the smaller, like the micro level, that's what a lot of cults are. It's like the tipping point between self-help and cult is can be very slow, and it usually has to do with power and like what you're describing is actually kind of a minor version of that, but in a sense, it's the same thing. It's someone placing their own ego in front of the valuable work that they are engaged in.
Well, and you know what's fun? Totally. And you know what's funny about it is the more of this fucking work I do, you know who I think this is embarrassing, humbling, and great. And I'm happy to do it. Do you know how the most admirable people to me are on this fucking planet? Is like the guy who blows the fucking leaves outside of my apartment. Do you understand? This guy has a fucking leaf blower, 6 a.m, noon, 3 p.m., whether it's like 700 degrees outside or it's the dead of winter. That guy is nice to me every fucking time we talk. He wants to know how my life is. He's a fucking leaf blowing guy who makes like no dollars at a apartment condo complex where I could just be some bitch in his way if he wanted to have that attitude. This guy is so loving and generous to me. Just normal folks having families and trying to be kind, or people who just organically are like compassionate and loving. That is high level spirituality.
Yeah, they're just not framing it in that necessarily in that way, but that kind of goes along with what you were describing, though, that person may or may not have engaged in the spiritual heightening, but their ethical, moral, and relational path is just super high.
And you know what I see more than anything is if that line has been worked really strong, you're more likely to like burst yourself into some spiritual awakenings in your heart as a side effect.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be an arrogant fucking superior down talky dick face if you're working on that line only.
I think that's the title of this episode. Superior down talky dick face.
What was the other one? I like the other one more.
ET penises.
ET penis head? Oh, wait, show me. Is that what it was?
ET penises.
Oh, so what's ironic to me about the whole thing is like, Katie Rubin, this individual manifestation of personality, ego, hair, and a face, I would never have been the leaf blower guy. Like, had I tried working on the ethics and the morals and the things through 12-step. That's what 12-step like started me to learn. I started to learn about that there in my 20s. But there was a stopping point for me. Like, I had to go this other route. I had to. But I see how, because that's just my life path. But other people who aren't, whatever, this is part of my dharma, is like, it had to go this way so I could serve and contribute in this particular way. But my point being, because I was so broken that just being a kind individual was like not a possibility for me. It was not going to work that way for me. Just not going to do it. It wasn't going to work. And I'm just so grateful for the pain in my youth and the pain that took so long to clear, because the pain will humble your ass. If you're willing to admit you have pain in your heart and you're doing spiritual healing work and working as a teacher of spiritual shit, you can't think you're better than people. See what I'm saying?
Well, but that also speaks to why there is a certain level of dysfunction within certain of these organizations, because the people who are doing the spiritual work are also pretty traumatically damaged. And so like whatever the spiritual work they've done has healed like a big part of themselves, but there's a big part of themselves that hasn't been healed, that hasn't been addressed, and is going to act out as ego oppression or whatever.
Totally. I mean, totally. That's the archetype of the wounded healer, right? That's where it's like, yeah, I don't know. I've been sitting with this a lot lately since this whole thing where I'm going, all right, if I feel sort of like complete with this whole like need to heal stuff, like, I mean, I'll always be opening my records, sitting with God, asking questions, looking at myself, but if I'm feeling this level of kind of peace and ease in my body where I'm like, I don't feel, sometimes like people say like, I've completed my journey and I've completed the karmic cycle of meh. And the way they're talking about it, it doesn't feel grounded.
It's that breathy voice again.
It's that fucking breathy voice. They're out in space about it and they're like wearing their big chunky crystal. And that means what? I don't know. My point being, I feel pretty fucking integrated. Like I feel grounded. I feel like a person. I have bills to pay. I'm a person. I have a cat and a dog. They both pee. I shit every day. I have a bidet on my toilet because my asshole gets poopy. And I feel pretty fucking high vibe. Okay? Real high vibe. Pretty light. Not carrying a lot of cray, inside, trauma, icky, whatever. Do I actually, the question I've been sitting with, do I want to be actually a part of this particular industry at all?
The theater acting one? No.
That's
no.
Like
The healing industry.
Yeah.
The healing industrial complex. The spiritual healing industrial complex.
That's right.
The SHIC. I want to make it a T. The spiritual healing industrial technocracy.
Ooh, that's not bad.
Theocracy. Templeocracy. Theocracy. The spiritual healing industrial theocracy, I think we go with.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, the shit.
Anyway, my point is that like probably what I should do is, and I'll just follow what the guidance is the bottom line, but probably what I should do is stay in the industry and be one of the people who doesn't suck, because leaving it now would be a shame. If I'm at least aware enough to be like, okay, I'm going to really try to not suck while I do all this shit. I really want to just not abuse people. God, like, what a notion. I want to not be spiritually superior. I want to not shame people. I want to do it well. I probably should stick around. But there's another part of me that's like, well, if I'm feeling pretty whole, maybe I should like go become a therapist or something where it's like normal people come through my system and I can do the Shakti thing for people who want it. But it's more just like quiet, humble office people. Like, we're not going to be part of the whole fucking woo-woo bullshit. But see, that doesn't sit right either. Because again, I actually know what the light is capable of. Mm-hmm. The light is capable of integrating the person with their soul. And you don't have to be a dick. Anyway, so you see my dilemma.
I do. It's the constant struggle of wanting to leave a thing that feels toxic or wrong, but then you want to be like, also, I should stay because I need to detoxify. Yeah.
Or be a representative. It's like if you were working, I've thought of this many times for like politicians, like if you were working in Washington and you maintained somehow a moral center.
I think there's a couple, there's 2 or 3.
Exactly. That you would probably look around and go, fuck, I think I have to stay. Because if I go, there's nobody left, right? Think about Washington. Like, have you guys heard, speaking of which, have you heard Michelle Obama much?
I've heard of her. No, I mean, I haven't, not like, I haven't listened to her give speeches or anything. And I haven't read her book.
Okay, I got on a kick recently of I was like, let me learn more about this amazing woman that used to be around. I think what I just want to say is that about what made me think of it is, I mean, this topic, it's like, if you listen to her talk, she's clearly just a person who gives a shit about people, who maintained a spiritual, moral center in the highest position in the land. Well, like second in command to the highest position in the land. But you could easily become, I mean, easily doesn't cover it. She doesn't seem corrupted to me at all. Of course, like, how do we really know?
We don't know.
Who knows?
We don't know what deals are made. We were not in the room where it happened.
We were not in the room. Nope.
What we've just touched on, I know that we had some questions in mind, but I feel like there's an interesting question to be asked today. And I think it would be sort of about you and or me both individually or as a collective general advice, which is how do I, or how do you, or how do we, or do we, or should we, and how do we continue to work in what we might consider a broken or corrupted system? And mine, for me, it is theater. Like, theater is really the idea of theater as sort of a major piece of the white supremacist patriarchy and the especially theater as a, the regional theater system, blah, 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 the really heavy duty moneyed part of it is so corrupted in that way and it's becoming more and more apparent every day, and people are telling more stories. And my personal struggle has been similar kind of to what you're talking about. It's like, I'm kind of like, maybe I should just get the fuck out. Like, fuck it. Maybe I shouldn't serve this system anymore. But I also don't totally agree with myself when I'm having that conversation. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if that would be, and it's very similar to what you're saying. And I'm wondering if we could ask for guidance. And I think it could be general guidance information too, that people might need to hear.
Sure. We can fully do that. I think I would want to separate the two questions. Like, how does Cassidy maintain alignment is it in his highest good to stay in that field specifically? Because it's such a different field. And I wonder if we'll get different.
Right. And I feel like we would need to ask for each of us.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think it's just one of us. I feel like
you're right.
There's something going on there.
Already I have some awarenesses, like as you ask that, it's like I can hear the higher guidance about it. Like I can think of just, already, like you've got some white male privileged artistic directors doing a pretty great job to break that apart. Like if you look at what Stevenson is doing over at Cap Stage, their programming is changing because of what we're all waking up to, systemic racism, basically.
Yeah. Josh over at Aurora is definitely taking this stuff on as actively as he can. Now that's his individual dharma. Maybe, is that the right word? I don't know, but that is his, and I appreciate that. So I want to know, like, in what way do I continue to work with integrity within that system?
Okay, great. Let's do it. All right, we'll open my records and we'll open your records at the same time. I'm excited. I need
Me
it.
too. I'm excited about this one.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay, so let's take a couple deep breaths into the low belly. And we'll come into connection with the low belly, finding our feelings, finding the pit of the stomach, dropping into the pit of the stomach. We're almost down at the pelvic floor, inhaling into there and exhaling from there. Owning that we are human beings with human emotions and needs, really feeling those emotions, knowing, of course, and re-acknowledging that the feelings are the doorway to the light. Without feelings, I couldn't perceive any of the things I perceive, and none of us could heal anything we're healing. I mean, okay. Do we need to ground? No. Do we need to do that? No. All right. So I'm going to open your records, Cassidy, right away here. So we're going to open both of our records. This prayer. Okay, good. So continuing to just breathe, if you could, into your low belly. Feel the sit bones in the chair. Give the weight of your body over to the chair, allowing yourself to be held up, first by the chair and then by the light. I mean, from here we say, Lords of the Akasha, please fill us, Cassidy, Jamal, Brown, and myself, with your divine love and assist us in being grounded and present in our bodies. Breathe as we access divine information and wisdom from you today. I'm getting to open yours as well, Desmond. Are you okay with that? Okay. Oh my gosh. Lords of the Akasha. Oh, we're going to move some energy. Please fill all three of us with your divine love and assist us in being grounded and present in our bodies as we access divine information and wisdom from you today. Please expand our state of consciousness, each of us. Desmond, what's your full legal name? Desmond Paul McNeese. Am I saying it correctly? McNeese. Please expand our state of consciousness and move us into alignment with the Akashic realm in a heart-centered state. I ask that the shields of protection be activated to encircle us as we move deeply into the Akashic records of Desmond Paul McNeese, Cassidy Jamal Brown, and Catherine Lauren Hardy Rubin. Amen. Dear Akashic Lords, please bring the light of my heart present here into this moment so I may consciously connect the guidance of all three of us. Ziz, Akashic Records. Lords, Masters, and Teachers, I ask that you show me what it feels like to be a clear channel of Desmond Paul McNeese, Cassidy Jamal Brown, and Catherine Lauren Hardy Rubin's Akashic Record. I unfold and open myself to receive divine love, wisdom, and healing on all levels for Desmond Paul McNeese, Cassidy Jamal Brown, and myself, all of our multidimensional souls. Oh boy. It is with great joy that I return my heart's awareness to oneness. In Desmond Paul McNeese, Cassidy Jamal Brown, and Catherine Lauren Hardy Rubin's Akashic Records. I'm just going to go quiet for one moment. Oh my goodness. Okay. And so we're asking also Lords, Masters, and Teachers to open the Akashic Records of the group of the three of us. Sort of like the individual records are open and our group records are opening. I mean, Okay, so I'm gonna run a little bit of clearing energy on a couple quick things, and then we'll go to our questions. The first is anybody who's smoked any marijuana anytime recently or taken any drugs of any kind, we're gonna just ask that the light clear that out of our energy fields now. By recently, I mean in the last couple years. There's a particular heaviness that drug places on the spirit where it can lighten things in the short term and heavyify things in the long. I mean, so we're just clearing out whatever remnants of it or aspects of it are present at this moment. My doggie is sitting on my shoulder because she likes the light. I mean, okay, so any heaviness in any of the three of our bodies that is actually heavy, awareness that we're carrying of heaviness of the earth, something the earth is going through that you are so attuned that you're aware of it, but it shows up as fatigue, anxiety, tiredness, heaviness, depression. We're asking for all that to be lifted right now for the earth. And as a result, we each benefit. Any and all demons or entities that are present from any drugs, and I'm including like if you had to take Claritin or Benadryl, that kind of stuff can bring little buggers around. We're asking for those guys to be lifted out of our fields now, cleared, sent to the light. Okay. Great. Okay. None of this is said with judgment. This is simply to be aware of what different energies do. Nobody is wrong for doing any drugs they do, and we want to be aware of what is occurring in our energy fields when we use them. That's all. I mean, all right. Can we go with questions now? Is there something else to clear before we go with questions? Okay, our records are open. Okay. Hold on one second. There's one thing I'm aware of, though. What is that? Oh. Okay, yeah. Any heavy emotional stuff that might be coming up or that you might be present to in your body, we're just going to visualize it dissipating, like turning into from a thickness to a fine mist that just lifts right out of the body, being soul spirit. Yeah, like a fine mist, like a light. Goes from being like a, what is that? Like a gel to a liquid, to a mist, to a light. There we go. Excellent. And that process, by the way, of going from gel to liquid to mist to light is what divine light does for heavy emotions, heavy states of being, the effects of different medications, the effects of trauma. That's what it does. And what a gift. And so Lords, Masters, and Teachers, we're asking now, I think we'll start with Cassidy, if that's all right. So the question on the table in his version for Cassidy Jamal Brown, those are all your names, right, Cassidy?
Mm-hmm.
All right. How is it in his highest good to stay in his chosen field? Yes. It's a big fat yes. Okay. So the question is, tell me if I get this correct, Cassidy. How is he to stay in the broken system, but to function well within it and perhaps help it be less broken? Oh. And so, well, as with all contributions the human vessel can make to any external group, system, or process, the work begins within. We all know this, and we are here. You all know this, and we are here to remind you that your work as you continue forward, Cassidy, is to continue to soften, transmute into light, and soften the parts of yourself that can be insistent, hard-hearted, unaware of their effects, too dominant, oppressive. These are not energies you ever intend, and they are occurring. This is understandable. So it's if we had a say, beloved, we would dream of a world in which you would find a spiritual practice for yourself that resonated for you, that you could use to continue to soften it's like they don't have words for it, like your inner alignment, like your inner self. See, because you have minimal pain and injury to the structuring of yourself, your sense of self is quite uninjured in the ways that selves can be injured. And so it's difficult for you to surrender into a higher vibrational frequency light, because why would you? Why would you? Now, the answer is because of this question you're asking, which is to say, you care about people. You care about the hearts of people already, organically, innately to who you are is that. Now, in order to be a part of the system that will facilitate change to it, you must be a walking embodiment of spacious, compassionate allowance. And you have a mental capacity for understanding that as a concept, choosing to do your best with your mind and your behavior to embody that compassionate allowance, to compassionate, spacious allowance of others and their voice and their hearts and their energy. However, your energy field could use some softening through the divine feminine. We would not deign to tell you how to do that, but we would encourage you to discover a way that works for you. Additionally, as you already are aware, you will be attending gatherings of systemic discussion breakdowns systemic breakdown discussions with people who are facilitating change. The people who have been oppressed in this culture, in this world, on this earth, the polarity of their oppression is so strong that they are rising up. But understand that the rising ultimately serves the unity. So any polarity that is at work, white man is stronger than oppressed Black woman, or white man, white woman are in power, and colorful skinned others are othered or separated or disempowered. That is a polarity. So then when the disempowered parties begin to rise up and become empowered, there is a polarization that occurs in the opposite direction, all of which is working toward the removal of polarity entirely so that the hearts can connect and there can be unity. Please understand, when we say unity, we do not mean hegemony or homogenization. We do not mean white unity. We mean unity in the realm of spirit, mutual respect from heart to heart, actual equality, actual harmony amongst the peoples. This is what the current polarity uprising is attempting to rebalance in this ecosystem called humanity. So you will be joining and participating in conversations led by the others who will help educate you, soften you, deepen you, open you. Participate. Please participate in the conversation. Don't hide. Even though everybody wants to be afraid and apologize and bow their head, participate. Show up. Be vocal. Ask questions. And if you're asking us, beloved, if you're asking us this question, we would offer you, find a way to know the light that works within your mental structuring. There are, in fact, believe it or not, things you don't know yet, things you cannot access, levels of compassion and love you cannot experience until you know the light. And so it is. All right. Any questions from there? Any thoughts? Anything you need?
No, I feel like that's pretty. Yeah, that I hear it, and I have stuff to work on and to check in with.
I'm just going to ask, is there anything else like with regard to the structural? No. So the inner work is the thing for now.
Okay.
Once there's a certain softening, a certain integration of the divine feminine into the being and the cells of your muscles and your body and your mind and your memory, a certain flushing of certain patriarchal dynamics that almost like just live in your muscles through no fault of your own, except that you're alive on this planet and a man. Once this has occurred, there will come a time where you will be called upon by the external reality to serve, teach, lead, but not now. In other words, you'll be part of the restructuring of certain structures, actually, in a more practical way, but you'll be called upon. You understand the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm not to go, okay, time for me to go change the structure right now.
Right, that's right. Listen, open, receive, and they go like this. Shh. And that's for many of us, not just you. I mean, yes, Kismet. Meow, indeed. Meow. The divine feminine embodied as cat. All right, I'm going to ask the next question unless you have more.
No, I'm good.
All right.
That's what I needed to hear.
Okay, so thank you for that. And thank you for your openness and your humility and willingness to hear these things. So we're asking record keepers now. So I've been sitting with, as you know, like, do I leave the healing field? And of course I get a no, even as I say that. The reason being, because it's like, it's so sick and injured and there's so many people abusing other people with spiritual power. And I there's that tendency I have to reject things rather than find a way to work within them. And they're like, right, beloved. So this is your work. It is easy for you. Most human beings on the planet click. It's like they click in. Most human beings on the planet struggle to walk away. They remain enmeshed at all costs. They would never leave the family structure. They would never stop talking to their mother. They would never quit a job and be an actor. Most human mammals would never do anything like that. Enmeshment to the tribe and the tribal conditioning is primary for most human beings, which is a large part of the problem you're facing as a race at this time. You, however, swing the other direction and polarize yourself in the direction of rejection. You will reject all of it for the sake of autonomy and freedom. You love to be free and you love autonomy, and thank God for it, because it's taken you where you are. However, and if you were to leave the healing field, you would be rejecting the very thing that brought you your freedom and autonomy. Who do you think you are? Where are you going? This is charming, beloved. This is charming. We facilitate your awakening, and you desire to reject the entirety of the process of the work. You are the comedian, but this is hilarious. So you continue on your human journey. Catherine, they say, Catherine Lauren, oh my. You continue on your human journey of learning how, okay, and this is where the human design element comes in. They know how much I study human design. Your work as a manifesting generator is to become masterful. You came into this lifetime remedial at interrelational human dynamics and advanced at spiritual dynamics. Good for you. Now, your work continues on the level of interpersonal human dynamics. If you leave, you're skipping town on the entire process you have left to work on, which is be with people. Facilitate the people, lead the people, but lead them by example. Lead them as the kind of leader you keep complaining we have none of. Who do you think is going to do it? Do you think Martin Luther King, yes, he had his own problems and was a human, but do you think he sat around thinking, well, someone else will take care of these people? For a while he did, we can tell you from this perspective. But one day he woke up to the reality but the time is now and we are the ones we've been waiting for. You preach a good game, Katie. You are so bright. You see the truth. You preach a good game. Now it's time to embody it and live it. You must lead by example. Don't, as you say, be a dick and stick around. That would be integration and that would be maturity, darling. That's what it is to be an adult on planet Earth. Wah, wah. There's more. When you were young, they broke you deeply, and we understand. You have an understandable high level of fear of being obliterated by humanity because they obliterated you. Your sense of self was so damaged, so broken, that you were going to develop one or another fear-based coping strategy. Running, leaving, bailing is a highly successful one in the beginning of the journey for someone who was hurt as deeply as you were. You understand all this, and you understand why running will no longer suffice if you are to live your dharma, which is to carry the light and to teach the teachings of the light and to hold the light for the planet and to be a pole of light for the people and to lead them in the way of the light. And this will hold your feet to the fire. It will mean that you have to continue to learn and grow on your relational dynamic level. That which scares you the most, that the people will obliterate me again. But you know better than anyone that we are here to protect you. You can no longer be obliterated. Amen. And so it is. And so it is that the smackdown has been delivered unto myself.
Today they sound like Katharine Hepburn.
I feel that way, but it's so correct. It's so dramatic, isn't it?
Catherine, Lauren, you must know. I love it. I'm really happy.
Desmond, do you have any questions on this topic or on any topic? Because we're here, we may as well
Yeah, probably getting off topic a little bit because I don't have a question, and in my not having a question, therein lies the question.
Whoa.
Your audio is kind of low right
sorry,
now.
that's right. I'm talking to you into
That's
this
right.
microphone. I'm just very curious what my big problem is.
Huh.
And I realize that I'm opening myself up to be wounded on air, but I've got a lot of, things have gone downhill for me pretty quickly.
Okay.
6 months ago, I would have considered myself whole, and I've had a hard time keeping myself together during the shelter in place with the family and all the stress of that.
Mm.
And I know I have plenty of things to work on, and I guess I would love to know what the linchpin is, if that's even possible.
Sure. All right. Well, first of all, thank you for the vulnerability of the question and your transparency and your authenticity. It's beautiful. And, immediately I hear them, look, it's going to be Katharine Hepburn. Just get on board. It's like anything we would bring to you that might cause temporary discomfort would simply be the discomfort of the release of the pain you're carrying from whatever the linchpin may be. In other words, we would not harm you on air. We might say things that contribute to growth patterns that are necessary, that might humble you, but we would never provide harm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hallelujah. Namaste. Thank you. And so the linchpin. So Record Keeper is just here as me, Katie. We're asking, he's looking for what is at the heart of the challenges he's experiencing. I'm going to let this trickle in a little bit because that's how it's coming in. So Desmond Paul McNeese, he's asking, what is the big problem here? All right. First of all, how would you, when you say things have gone downhill pretty fast, what do you mean exactly? Or that you're willing to share? What do you mean that you can share?
Probably self-care at the top, and that has trickled out. Not caring for myself has given me less respect for myself, which tends to kind of bleed out into frustration with other, eventually pushing that frustration.
And what would self-care look like?
Rest, exercise, not smoking.
Smoking, tobacco, weed, both?
Tobacco. I've been drug and alcohol free for 2 years, and amazingly, I've managed to continue that over the last 6 months, which is a partial victory considering what's been going on, which is why I've allowed some other things to slip.
Yeah, it's a big victory.
I've just been really, really frustrated with others around me, and I know that starts with me.
What are you? I know this gets dicey, but what are you frustrated with externally?
Just the consistent repetition of being sheltered in place. We got a 5-year-old, a 15-year-old, and there is some obvious challenges going on with that, and being their teacher, their principal, and their parent.
Okay. All right. Here's the main thing. There's a few pieces. Thank you for that information. Number one, people pleasing, putting the need for other people to be comfortable, happy, and comfortable above your own self-care, as you said, will always create resentment, period. Always, for every human, not just you. It doesn't work. It's in a failed equation. Number two, there is a kind of, and so to continue on that point, there's a little bit of part of what is dying through you, beloved, they say. This period of time in history is, for human beings, is a death rebirth, 100% for everyone. What is dying through you is the need to be something for them, whoever they is. What is dying through you is an identification with, being the good guy, giving yourself away for the sake of others. The first step towards something like this dying is you have to get very angry at the people. What usually happens is this: the human being gets angry at the people to whom the human being is giving himself away. Because fuck you, where's me? The thing is, though, that you're the one giving you away. Now, we recognize and would never suggest anything other than the difficulty of your situation at present is quite real. The external difficulties are real. None of this is to minimize that. And you won't save the people on the airplane if you don't put your mask on. And the thing is, you think that the amount of masking you need is too much. So God forbid you take it, because they need fill in the blank. You need a lot more oxygen than you're giving yourself. A lot more. Because you know why? You are a good guy and you do have a big heart. But a big-hearted good guy is also a sensitive nervous system. Your nervous system is much more sensitive than sometimes you let on, because if you were to admit how sensitive you were, you'd have to give up identification with always taking care of everyone else first. There's an egoic payoff to martyring yourself. We know you would never consciously martyr yourself. It's not your bag. You're not about it in your mind. And yet this is what is playing out through you, through no fault of your own. But as the saying goes, it is not your fault that this dynamic is playing out, but it is your responsibility to change it. And so the homework, beloved, is number one, ground yourself in your actual emotional truth in the moment. This is a big piece of what's happening to mankind, the men on the planet right now. Is they are being deepened if they're willing and if they're as awake and sensitive as you. They are being pulled into their depths. You will face your feelings now or you will perish, period, as a race. And so step number one, feel your feelings in every moment. Never make them wrong. Never judge them. Always take care of them. There is an infant baby in your house and he lives inside of your body. You are trying to save a bunch of drowning teenagers when there's a little baby who's choking to death in your arms. It's that real. So would you put an oxygen mask that was flowing tobacco smoke into a baby's face? Of course not. What you would do with a baby is you would say, "Oh, honey, what's wrong? Tell daddy. How do you feel? Oh, you're hungry? Oh, I love you. Here, let's give you some food." Is that better? Do you notice how the way we're speaking now, we are tending to the baby in every millimoment. The baby is being tended to in every millimoment. And there is no moment where we are shaming the baby for being a baby and or for having needs. Now you might say to the baby in any given moment, "What do you need?" And the baby might say, 3 days alone. And you might say, "Well, that's crazy." And then the baby cries. And then you put smoke in its face. And it starts to choke to death. You would never treat a baby this way. You're too kind. And so this is the walking, as we say, for the empath man, how to care as much as you do and survive this reality. And the answer is you must take care of the baby. Babies, as you know, are babies for like a long time. And they cry every day. And they need food all the time. And they need naps all the time. You cannot fault your inner child for needing what it needs, period. Yes, you will be challenged to the core, beloved, in the coming days where you will believe you are a bad man for taking care of the baby first. Keep going. When you feel you're a bad man for taking care of the baby and not feeding her smoke, we say her because it's a feminine quality within you that needs this love. When you think you are a bad man for tending to the infant who needs the love, tell yourself the following. This guilt I'm experiencing is a withdrawal symptom from codependency. I am in withdrawal from my codependent enmeshment with the attachment to my old notions of self. Withdrawal is good. Withdrawal means you're getting the toxins out. Does this make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Notice how from the beginning you already knew this. You said, "I'm not really taking good care of myself." And then you said,
"That's a good Desmond."
And then you said, "What's the linchpin?" Now, here's where there's a little bit more info for you. Some of this comes from a kind of break in your third chakra sense of self system. It's like a bend, not even a break. It's like bent. So can we, nope. Okay. And so the bend or the breakish, bendy thing gets realigned through these self-loving actions. What I mean is there's like a little bit of a break right now in your connection to yourself even. So sometimes it's hard to meet the needs of something you can't feel, right?
Correct.
Like if you can't feel yourself, how can you know what yourself needs? So the first step is to build in habits, external habits that facilitate you feeling yourself again. As you know, this includes for you private time, rest, no smoky, nature, more oxygen moving through your cells, quiet, water, like bodies of water on the earth, quiet, walks, meditation, silence. You're like a pine tree. Pine tree think about what a pine tree does. It's rooted into the earth and then it sucks up oxygen and sends out CO, whatever the hell they do. Oxygen comes in, CO2 goes out. Is that how it works? Something like that. C2, whatever that is.
Swap that. That's all.
CO2 goes in. How does it go? Tell me, Cass.
Yeah. CO2 goes in, oxygen comes out.
Boom. Look at me knowing
Thank
stuff.
God, because otherwise we wouldn't have oxygen.
We'd all be dead. Wow. Okay, sorry. So they're showing, it's like, think about how important it is that what a fucking pine tree does. Their trees are making the oxygen so we can live. But if you look at a tree, they're not out there saving all the other trees. They're not like, how do we help humanity, running around and martyring themselves? They're just standing there being a tree. You, when you are well nurtured and well watered, are the pine tree for those around you, period. Okay, you get the point. Would it be helpful for him to hear anything else? No. Desmond, did you have anything else you wanted? Clarity, ask, more, anything?
Honestly, that pine tree metaphor drove it home perfectly.
Okay, great. Okay, that's great.
I have something I'd love to share with Desmond on that topic, but maybe after we close the records, if you want.
Okay. Should we close the records before we do that? Yes. No, thank you. We'll come right back to that. So let's just hear really briefly, is there anything else for the three of us and or for the listeners on any of these topics? And there is, and let's just see what that is briefly. Oh, if only we could impart to you how huge the changes you're walking through are, each of you. If only we could impart to you how deeply felt our compassion is for your journeys. If only you could know how much support you have. You have droves of light beings and angels and love, just jumping jacks of cheerleading rows of light beings, cheering you on, empathizing, seeing you, hearing you, supporting you, loving you. We have so much empathy for the human compassion and the human condition. It is not an easy one. And yet each of you chose to be here. You chose to walk through this particular crucible, which is what the human life is. It is a crucible of fire. You're in the crucible now, and it's very hot. We've heated it up nice and hot so that everything that is a lie can be burned off and out and through you. This is what's required. And we understand how uncomfortably hot it is. We hold you with so much love. So many of you will never know. And all we can do is continue to whisper in your ear. Take more breaks. Be softer. Stick around. Show up. You got this. It's okay. We have your back. You're not crazy. Do that thing you think you know you need to do, but think you might be crazy if you did it. That's us talking to you. Always, all of you. And we will continue to whisper. And we're so sorry that we seem so far away and hard to reach so much of the time. If we could arrange reality differently, we would. And the good news is of what is occurring on the earth at this time is an up-leveling and an up-frequencying of consciousness such that we are reorganizing reality. We are. And you will hear us more clearly. As this up-leveling continues, the question remains, will you listen and will you act? And we hear each of you today saying, I will, and I will. And so it is. And so we say, namaste. The light in us bows to the light in you. All the light is the same light. It sees itself. It recognizes itself. It loves itself. Thank you for existing in human form. Amen. So thank you so much, record keepers, God, the divine light, everything, everyone. I'm asking now that we just thank you for this healing and this light and this awareness and these teachings so much, Catherine Hepburn or not. And I ask that you return us each now to our complete human wholeness. that you return Cassidy completely to himself, and that you return Desmond's energy completely to himself and my energy completely to myself. The divine portal and the Akashic records for Desmond Paul McNeese, Cassidy Jamal Brown, Catherine Lauren Hardy Rubin are now closed. Amen. 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 The divine portal and the Akashic records for Desmond Paul McNeese, Cassidy Jamal Brown, Catherine Lauren Hardy Rubin are now closed. Amen. Divine portal and the Akashic records for all three of us here today are now closed. Amen. 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 It's funny. As they're closing here, I have this extra awareness tonight of how crazy my dad would think this was. I was like, they're like pulling out of my field, and I'm like, if Bob Rubin ever had to listen to any of this. Oh my God. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
It's a really nice space too to be in with you. It's just your souls are very beautiful, and I get to sit in them. Like, what a lucky duck.
Yeah. It is such a struggle not being able to like sit with these people that I love and want to just be like, hey, what's up? Like, whether it's, just watch a movie or just be with, but just like share, I was, jokingly calling it exchanging ions, but just like the struggle of not actually connecting with you guys. It's hard. It's hard. It's wonderful to do this. I've missed it, but it's hard to not actually just be in the presence of, because physical proximity has a thing.
It has its own thing. I so hear you. I had Eric was here last night with a female friend of mine, and there were three of us in a room.
It's like pornography almost, isn't it? And I don't mean that because I don't care. I'm just saying.
No.
Like you see, like we're watching TV and you're like, are they allowed to do that? Like people shake hands and you're like, oh God, they're touching. That's my reaction. I don't know.
I understand. I mean, that's my point. Yeah. We were just sitting on my couch. She was way at the other end of the couch. She had her mask on, the whole deal.
Right.
And she had a COVID test like 2 days before. We both are see each other all the time. So we're touching each other all the time.
We've heard.
But we stayed away from her. We did everything well, but it was like we all just kept being like, hey guys, this is
nice.
Yeah,
it's pretty nice. I've done a couple of socially distanced just hangouts just in a backyard or something, and it actually I was like, oh my heart, I love you.
It's so
makes
good.
me like love my like casual friends deeply. Like, oh, I actually love you. But before I forget, I wanted to share with Desmond something. Is that okay?
Yes.
I recently was having a really similar sort of micro version of what, like when you just said, I'm getting really frustrated with people. Like I had a few days where I was like, I want like everybody, and I had to sort of announce it to my housemates. It's like, I have no patience. I'm going to get very frustrated. And I have it was good to just say it.
Yeah.
To say like, I have no patience right now. And whether it's at you or not, it doesn't matter. Like I have no filter between, but it has been revolutionary for me to, and I think this actually came up before the frustration thing, but I was having like really hard time just regulating my emotions. And it's because I wasn't feeling them. It's this thing that we've said 100 times. The record keepers have told us 1,000,000 times. You've said it to me personally 1,000 times. My therapist has said it 5,000 times.
Yeah.
But literally what I've found myself, one of the best, and I haven't done it for several days and I need to, is I have a sky chair that hangs like a swinging chair out on my back porch. Doesn't matter. That's my location. I put some ethereal music in just to cut out the outside world, but it doesn't have content.
Yeah.
Close my eyes. I put a timer on for 11 minutes. Like I'm not going for a big fucking record here. And I close my eyes and I just start saying, what are you feeling? How are you feeling? What are you feeling? And I just ask myself that question and I tell myself to name it. And I tell myself, and I don't solve it. I don't do shit with it, but I force myself to actually engage. So if I'm angry at somebody, then I'm saying, oh, I'm angry at that person. And I don't have to look at why or what or who. And I just say, oh, but I have to fucking admit that I'm angry at that person. And I'm frustrated and I'm resentful and I'm sad. And I miss my mom. And then you get to all the other pieces of that too. But I just say it. And it has been transformative for what that's worth.
Well, Kelly just got a hammock in the mail.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's
that
great.
might be my 11 minutes of hammock time.
Yeah.
You know
I
what
mean, if you can't get 3 days by yourself, at least like force. It's like the time you'd be taking a shit. Whatever. It's that length of
Oh,
time.
I'm gonna need 22 minutes.
Well, I love you guys.
Let's do it again
Thank
tomorrow.
you. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
What time again are we doing?
Less than 12 hours from now. All of the answers. Yeah, all the answers.
All of the answers. All the
answers.
Yay.
Yeah.
Good times.
Thank
All
you
right,
guys very
I'll
much.
See you
See you
guys
guys
Love
soon.
you.
tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Love you. Bye.
You asking for all of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
Are we recording?
Unfortunately, yes, but I'm gonna dump my computer in the landfill right
in an
now.
acid bath.
Totally.
Okay.
That was a Sounds Awesome production.